Alrighty, so this is electric air suspension, probably under about $30 on top of the $100 shocks. If you want to know how to do the $100 shocks, look at my last video. I'll link it. I bought an oil pressure gauge because that is the only way I know of, at least in a retail store, to get a fitting that's going to turn that line into 1/4 inch national pipe. So you follow the oil gauge line down here. That's where I was talking about how it converts to national pipe, converts it to 1/8 inch, and then I use the included 1/8 inch to 1/4 inch adapter to run it into this T. At the T, I've got a dump valve and just a normal shop pressure regulator. You don't necessarily need that, it just makes the bike dump a little bit slower. It's infinitely adjustable with the knob. So then from there, I've got a one-way check valve. You can see the arrows on it. That means it can only be filled from there. There will never be pressure that goes back. The reason I did that is because I got a 1/4 inch NPT to air chuck. So I'm using the same fitting here. So I can use another one of them cheap, crappy, replaceable compressors that you buy at the store that runs off of 12 volts. So when this compressor eventually craps out, I just literally screw on another one. But that's why I got the one-way valve, because you know it's a cheap Chinese compressor. It's probably not going to hold indefinitely. But anyway, I got the compressor here, pumped it up to 100 psi. As you can see, I can hit the little air relief on that compressor, and my bike doesn't dump at all because of that check valve. So for right now, just for testing purposes, I'm going to use a 9-volt to lower the bike. See if I can do this with one hand on video. And the 9-volt fell over, but you get the idea. Alright, so air ride setup is done. I got all those valves shoved into the toolbox. And then I've got the hose for the air compressor going up to a hole I drilled in the air box. And then the Schrader valve on that manifold lines up with that hole. The compressor itself is mounted at the front of the swing arm. It doesn't touch anything. It's really close, but doesn't touch anything. It's the closest it'll ever get right now when it's fully jacked up. And then for power, I'm running a relay to go to that little fuse box you saw, because I'm planning on adding quite a few more electronics to it. But anyway, that relay is triggered off of the headlight, same circuit as my garage door opener. If you're wanting to do that, that's garage door opener from an Audi. You essentially just want one that sets in the visor, because it's all one unit. GM units work too, but because it's run to the headlight switch, or the headlight circuit, you're not going to be able to control any of this without having the key on. There's the relay right there. I used 14 gauge wire for the trigger, and then 12 gauge to go to the fuse box. For the switch, I mounted it right here. Time will tell whether or not that was going to be a bad choice. I did have to make a little notch in the beauty cover on the engine, just so it wouldn't hit. But I'm sure I'll end up kicking myself for putting it there, but I wanted it to be hidden. As far as a gauge, this is actually the gauge off of the pressure regulator that you saw in the first clip. What I ended up doing was using the same kind of manifold setup to convert it from the 1/8 inch nylon line to the 1/8 inch national pipe. I just didn't use the reducer that makes it go from 1/8 inch to 1/4 inch national pipe. Alright, so I'm sitting here cleaning up, and I realized I should probably clarify a couple things. So on the compressor, it obviously has a switch on it. What I ended up doing was just removing the switch, and this particular compressor has an inflate off and light. I just completely removed the one that went to the light, and I just connected this wire and this wire, and that basically makes it to where anytime the two wires going to that compressor have power, the compressor is going to run. Also, on another note, if you do get one with a switch like this, you could use this same switch to run your system, because this is a dual pole, dual throw switch, just like the one I installed. The issue I had was I couldn't figure out how to get a drill bit back there that was big enough for this switch. That's why I went ahead and got that one. Another thing worth noting is that's just rubber hose covering everything up. I did run the, you can see it down here, the 1/8 inch hose up to this gauge with those adapters that come with the oil pressure gauge. And then I did end up having to also buy a 1/8 inch NPT to 1/8 inch NPT female to female connector, because the backside of this gauge is male, and then that connector that comes with the oil pressure gauge is also male. So I just had to buy that one additional connector that I didn't mention in the first video. And that's pretty much it. I'll go ahead and show you how it works here. There's a little fuse box that I got. But you turn on the ignition, and that makes this switch live. Up is up, down is down. See the bike's dropping. Go ahead and jack it back up here. That's 100 psi. That's higher than I'll ever run it. That's the setup. I'll go ahead and lower it again for you. Thanks for watching.